Strategic planning is one of those business tasks that all organizations know they should do, and yet many don't. And for those organizations who don't do strategic planning, they generally flounder if they don't fail altogether. Hi, I'm Bob Woolverton. I'm the founder and CEO of Top Tier Leadership Training. We specialize in providing executive-level leadership training to leaders of any and all organizations. When we come back after this short break, I'll share with you some real-life examples of how two CEOs failed to develop a strategic plan for their organization and the adverse impacts it had, so stick around. At one time, I worked for a government organization that had approximately 100 employees and no strategic plan. The organization was floundering and was awash in dysfunction. After a lot of discussion, business consultants were brought in to find out why the organization was struggling. The consultant's final report had a list of deficiencies that included lack of a clear vision, mission, and value statement. The report was basically saying there was no direction from the top executive, and the CEO resigned shortly after the report was written. Years later, the same organization, under new leadership, still had no strategic plan and still had no new vision or mission statement. Yet at the same time, I had an outside teaching contract where I taught classes on how to do strategic planning, and my capstone project for my master's degree was to write a paper for this same organization on how they could build a strategic plan. I got an A on my capstone project, but the organization never implemented the plan, and the organization never reached its full potential. The point is this. These events clearly demonstrate a failure of leadership by two different CEOs. These were perfect examples of a failure of executive-level leadership. Now, strategic planning is just one of the components of our executive-level leadership training seminars. And when we start talking about strategic planning, we are embarking into the ideas of how you create and measure success of an organization. So let me ask, how do you measure the success of your organization? And let me say right up front, if you measure success by profit, I strongly disagree with you. Profit is a result of what you do and doing that thing very well. What's your purpose? What's your cause? What's the belief? What's the why you do what you do? If someone asks you what your company does and your answer is, we make as much profit as we possibly can, they're probably not interested in doing business with you. But if you say something like your company's creating a new technology that will ensure every person on the planet will have access to clean drinking water, they may be inspired to do business with you. Henry Ford saw profit as the byproduct of a vision achieved. Ford wrote, "Try to run a business solely to make money and the business will die. Profit is essential to business vitality, but a business that charges too high a profit disappears as quickly as one that operates at a loss. Short-sighted businessmen think first of money, but the quality of a product or service is what makes or breaks a business. Without these, customers soon go elsewhere." If you do your purpose well, you'll likely make a profit. Profit is a result. It's not a cause or purpose, it's a result. So don't get thrown off course by thinking the reason you're in business is to make a profit. So back to the original question. How do you measure success? If you're an executive level leader, you should easily know the answer to this question. Yet I can tell you from experience, many executive level leaders do not know the answer to this question. I also have another test I use to evaluate the effectiveness of executive level leadership in an organization. I call it my top 5 priorities test. I get all of your top managers in a room and I ask them to list the top 5 priorities of your company and see what percentage of them list the same top 5 priorities. We know in a vast majority of organizations, the top managers don't know the top 5 priorities, and if they don't know, your line level people don't know either. Your top priorities come from your strategic plan. However, before you can start to work on your strategic plan, you have to develop your vision and mission statements first. In a moment, I'll give you a real-life example of how it's impossible to build a strategic plan without a strong vision and mission statement. But once you have defined your vision and mission statement, there are 6 basic steps to a strategic plan. Number 1, define the organization's vision and mission. That's the mandatory first step that we just talked about. Number 2, do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to your organization. Opportunities and threats are external to your organization. And step 3, setting organizational objectives. This is where you decide what steps, what actions, what things must occur, and in what order for your vision statement to become a reality. This is the step where you get your organizational priorities from. And then step 4, tactical planning. This is where you take your major objectives and figure out what has to occur at the line level to accomplish this specific objective. What human and capital resources do you need to accomplish each objective? And step 5, implement the strategy. There's more to it than the name implies, but you get the idea. And number 6, evaluating the results. This is the feedback loop to make sure your plan is accomplishing what it is intended to accomplish. Of course, you create the strategic plan with the best of intentions. However, it's not always successful, and you won't know without a feedback loop. Have you ever gone to a gun range to fire a pistol or a rifle? Every time you line up the sights and squeeze the trigger and send a round downrange towards the target, you had the best of intentions of hitting the bullseye. What if you pulled the trigger and never got any feedback? You'd think you're the best shot in the world. But when we get feedback that says, even with our best of intentions, we didn't hit the bullseye, then we make adjustments and try again. Your strategic plan is the same way. You build it from the executive level with the best of intentions, but you have to have a feedback loop to determine if your plan is hitting the bullseye where the rubber meets the road. And if the feedback says you're not, you make adjustments to the plan until the feedback loop says you are hitting the bullseye. I know of one organization where they held an off-site retreat with top management with the intention of creating a strategic plan. However, the CEO refused to do step 1, which is defining a vision and mission statement, so they went to step 2 and worked on the SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis determined the major weakness of this organization was a lack of focus on key objectives. Well, since they didn't have a good vision or mission statement, that's no surprise, because they had no direction of what they were trying to accomplish. In that meeting, descriptors like shiny object syndrome and squirrel syndrome were being used in the meeting, indicating the management team felt like they had no direction and there was no consistency to what they were doing. They felt like they were always pursuing something new every week, whatever the new shiny object was of the week. That's because they never completed step number 1. They didn't have a meaningful vision and mission statement. They had no idea what they were trying to build as an organization. The entire day passed, and they never got past step number 2 because it all begins at the top with vision and mission. Ultimately, even years later, the organization never got direction from the top executive level and continued on with its shiny object syndrome and squirrel syndrome. The point is this: the primary purpose of the strategic apex of an organization is to set the direction of the organization. Even in this inverted pyramid illustrating the leadership theory of servant leadership, it shows even in this inversion, the purpose of top executives is to keep the mission and strategies clear. That's just a different way of saying provide direction. When we look at the 6 steps of strategic planning, these steps may seem like a very mechanical process. However, they are vitally important to the motivation and commitment of the entire organization. When employees believe in the vision of what the organization aspires to become, and they understand their role in that vision, and they know what objectives they are responsible for achieving, you will have a highly motivated and committed workforce. Without it, you'll have a workforce that is merely showing up for a paycheck. If you'd like to explore what my company can do for you and your organization, give me a call. I'm Bob Woolverton. I'm the founder and CEO of Top Tier Leadership Training. We specialize in teaching executive-level leadership so organizations of all sizes can achieve phenomenal success. Call me or send me an email or visit our website, toptierleadershiptraining.com, and let's have a discussion to find out if our executive leadership program is right for your organization.